You can't pitch to Johnny. I'm Johnny.
Welcome back to The Drive here on ESPN Radio, 93.9 The Team. I'm your host, Aaron Marks. Matt Paris handling the production. Nicholas, the intern, hanging out with us as well, helping put the show on the air today here on a Thursday, getting ready for a gorgeous weekend out this weekend. Weather's going to be great. Get out, play some golf, run a race, why don't you? The North Myrtle Beach Winter Run is coming up on Saturday. Matt's looking at me like, are you crazy?
Nah,
That does not sound like a fun event to do over my weekend. That's what Matt's saying.
No.
North
Race
Myrtle
to my
Beach.
couch, I'll tell you that right now.
North Myrtle Beach Winter Run. 5K and 15K is happening in North Myrtle Beach on Main Street, 8 a.m. Saturday morning. Would love to see you there. If you want more details, visit grandstrandrunner.com. That's got all the details and online registration. Support the local initiative. Support the Grand Strand Running Club. Your money goes to a great cause, and it should be a fun event out there this weekend. Also, get out, play a little bit of golf too. Like I said, the weather should be absolutely gorgeous. We got a great hour number 2 lined up for you guys. We're going to cruise the region at 5:15 like we do every day. We're going to head to Blacksburg, Clemson. We're going to talk about some local events. We are going to talk about a new defensive coordinator at Clemson later in the hour. But right now, joining me on the line, speaking of coaches, happy to have him on with me for the first time. He's been very busy over there in Conway, moving into his new role. He is the new head football coach for Coastal Carolina University. He is Joe Moglia. Coach, how are you today? Good afternoon.
I'm good, Aaron. It's good to be on. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for making some time. I know how busy things have been. So just tell me, how's the year been going? You guys have been flying. You're hiring coaches. You're talking to recruits. You're meeting the team. Just kind of recap January for me to this point and how it's been.
Well, what I'll do is repeat almost exactly what you said. The priority, not in any particular order, but was to get the right staff in place. We're making pretty good progress as far as that goes. We've already announced some coaches. We announced Dyron Peak today, who, by the way, played at Burns here in South Carolina and is a resident of South Carolina. We're excited to have him. He'll coach our defensive backs. He had been coaching at UMass and at Delaware. Then we met with our team a couple of weeks ago. We emphasized how critical it was for them to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, and they set real responsibility for themselves. And we know what that means in terms of football. We emphasized what it meant in the classroom and behavior on and off the field. And then they still have a responsibility they've got to live up to as far as their family goes. And then finally, doing everything we can to kind of focus on the current recruiting class. This coming weekend will be the second major recruiting weekend we have, and we've got one more to follow, and National Letter of Intent is February 1st.
So talk to me about the recruiting. Did you get a chance to spend much time on the recruiting trail at Nebraska? Tell me about that and your first experience getting out meeting with these players here for Coastal.
Well, at Nebraska, I was in the role that I played at Nebraska. I met with all of our recruits when they came to the campus, and I met with them and their families when they were on campus. Okay. The NCAA didn't allow me to actually go out on the road per se. But I've certainly done that enough in my past, and, recruiting is recruiting, whether, frankly, you're bringing in a business executive or a student athlete. And so we've been on the phone pretty diligently or texting or emailing the guys over the span of the last several weeks. And then we spent some time with the entire group, or I spent some time with the entire group when they come in for the weekend to talk a little bit about what our mission is and what our standards are. And then I spend time with them and their families privately throughout the span of the weekend. So that's really where we've been spending our time.
There you go. As we're talking with new Coastal Carolina head football coach Joe Moglia, joining us for a few minutes today here on a Thursday edition. He's been very busy. We're getting announcements of new coaches almost daily, it seems, in our inbox and talking to players. And let's go back to the meeting with the team. You mentioned that once already. You got to meet the team for the first time. You mentioned some challenges you've presented them with already and some of the things you talked about. So walk me through what it was like meeting the team and some of the details of that day.
Well, I think for me it was a real highlight. I mean, at the end of the day, it is about the guys that you work with. It is about the guys that you coach. It's about the guys that hopefully you wind up having an impact on them, and frankly, they will always have an impact on you. So we talked a little bit about, we began with our mission, and that's to put a team on the field that all of Coastal Carolina is going to be proud of. Then we talked about taking responsibility for yourself, both on and off the field. I emphasized how critical it was to make sure we're going to class, make sure you're living up to responsibility in the classroom. And then the other thing we wanted to be very aggressive with was, in an effort to be as good a football player and an athlete as you can possibly be, you need to take the strength and conditioning program, part of what we're trying to do, incredibly seriously. So all of that has been an emphasis, and the response from the guys have been good.
There you go. As Coach Moglia finally got to meet the team as they came back to campus here earlier this month as he gets things in order. And you talk about putting a team on the field that the Coastal Carolina fans and players can be proud of, alums can be proud of. We talked briefly at your initial press conference about some game planning topics, and I want to get into that a little bit more today. Talk to me once again and tell our listeners a little bit more about the vision you have, your football team on the field, offensively, defensively, special teams is big with you as well. What do you envision for your team on the field and the product that you put out on the field, how they're going to look?
Yeah, I think first of all, it comes down to we understand how critical it is to be able to win, but it is also about literally giving it everything you've got, every snap that you were on the field. From a systems perspective, I think it's critical to be able to understand what your core competencies are. What are the different things that our players are capable of? How do you lever those into competitive advantages so it increases the probability for success on a particular play, series, or for a particular game? We'll always be adapting and adjusting to the strengths and effect of our players. Now, having said that, you've got to begin with a template. So the template that we're going to begin with offensively will be a spread, an up-tempo spread perimeter attack. We will also be aggressive in terms of a downhill part of that game with play action off of it. From a defensive perspective, whether we base out of a 3-man front or a 4-man front, will frankly be determined by the quality of our athletes at defensive line and linebacker, although we will show both an even and a lot look. Our look will run both man and zone coverages, but we will do all we can to disguise those, and we're not going to be afraid to bring pressure. From a kicking perspective, I know every coach in the country would say it's important, but at the end of the day, to me, if you don't get the kicking game right, you do not win ball games. So we will give that priority, practice time and meeting time as we get ready for spring, the preseason, and the season itself.
There you go. Just a little bit of insight into the type of football we'll see coming up this fall as we're talking with head coach Joe Moglia, Coastal Carolina University. Coach, came out the other day, got some news in my inbox that many other people did as well. There's a book coming out, Fourth and Goal, A Dream Deferred But Not Forgotten by Monty Burke of Forbes magazine. Now, you yourself are the author of a couple books, but now you've got one being written based on you. How does that feel?
Well, it's actually, it's a little scary, and it's also an honor. Monty actually is a senior writer at Forbes, and I know that he's taken a 6-month leave of absence to do this. Grand Central Publishing is actually doing the book itself. And Monty and I got to know each other a couple of years ago when I was at Nebraska, and it came up, and he spent about a week and did a feature that was in Forbes. It seems they had gotten a lot of positive responses from that ultimately resulted in the book. Monty spent a lot of last season with us with the Omaha Nighthawks there. He's already been down at campus here. I know he's done well over probably close to 400 interviews so far.
Wow.
And again, it's a little bit daunting. But I think for him, my coming back to college as a head coach, specifically here at Coastal, is the fulfillment of a dream, but also something that I've worked pretty hard at, and I feel I'm pretty well cut out for.
There you go. It should be it's an interesting project that we're looking forward to see get finalized. Now, let me ask you, Coach, I know you've been so busy, and it's going to continue to be that way. It's just going nonstop as you continue to fill out that coaching staff. You continue on the recruiting trail, then spring football, then you move into summer practices. It's just never ending. Have you had some opportunities, though? And if you could just kind of shed some light on what you've been able to do just to get involved in the community as far as getting yourself ingrained and meeting some folks around campus, the kind of stuff that you've been able to find some time to do? Well,
I've gone out of my way to try to meet some of the other coaches, some of my other colleagues. Coaches Ellis and Gilmore have been nice enough to give me their thoughts and advice. I've been very appreciative of that. I've had a chance to meet our soccer coach, our softball coach, our baseball coaches. I haven't had a chance to meet everybody yet, but I'd like very much to be able to do that. I spent a little time Certainly I spent a lot of time with our respective athletic directors and associate ADs with Hunter Yurachek and Bruce Gregory. On our recruiting weekend, Eddie Dyer, Dr. Dyer, the COO of the college, certainly spoke to our kids, as did Hunter, as did Linda Kirkendall, who's one of the senior professors on campus. Walter Gothigan has also spent a little time with our recruits and our players as well. He's the academic advisor for football. Dr. DeCenzo spoke to our recruits at a luncheon we had on Saturday. And I've tried to say hi to some of the faculty and some of what are now my new colleagues. I just haven't had a chance to get around to everybody yet.
There you go. I'm sure you've been very busy. Are you having fun, Coach?
I am having fun. I think anytime you're doing something that you really truly are passionate about and really care about, it's always something that's very fulfilling. I've always found, though, that if you're going to have success down the road, the key to that is laying a strong foundation, and that takes a little bit of time. So we're in the process of taking the time we feel we need to take to be able to lay that foundation.
Coach, I've got two quick questions for you that I want to wrap up with, and we can be brief with these. We have an active page on Facebook, and we get some emails from time to time. One of our listeners, Brian, he wants to know who you like in this weekend's AFC and NFC championship games.
Let me think.
Who's headed to the Super Bowl?
Well, no, you know what? I mean, I think I've always had a lot of respect for the Patriots. They've certainly been, you can't go too wrong as far as that goes, but I grew up in New York City, and I'm a big Giant fan. So at the end of the day, my heart's with the Giants.
There you go. All right, so Giants Patriots. A lot of people expecting the rematch. Actually, Mike and Mike this morning thought that as well. And then and Bob wrote into us, and this is a question that you've answered a lot. And let's go ahead. We'd love to hear your answer on it today. Very much looking forward to the things that you'll be able to do as the head coach of this school. But he asks, with your job at TD Ameritrade, what similarities do you see between the two jobs now that you've gotten the opportunity to move into the head coaching role?
Well, the reality is in both jobs, whenever you are just a leader of an organization, whether that's a team or a large organization or institution, it's really pretty much the same thing. You are always making decisions on people. The ability to be able to make those decisions will go a long way in terms of laying that foundation. It's that foundation, as we've said, that will lead to success and effectiveness down the road. You've got to be able to have a plan, a strategy, a mission. You've got to be able to execute that. You've got to be able to get people on board. And I've often said this, that I think I was a much better business person because of the first part of my life having spent as a football coach. Frankly, I think I will be a better head college coach because of the experience I've had in football at Nebraska and the UFL the last 3 years, but also with the experience I've had at a global level with regard to the business world.
There you go. Thanks for entertaining those for us. Coach Moglia, best of luck. You still got a lot of work to do. We're very much looking forward to talking some spring football with you. Thanks for giving us a few minutes today. Good luck with everything.
I enjoyed it, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Once again, that's head coach Joe Moglia with Coastal Carolina University. Want to thank Mike Kaywood as well for helping us get that set up and everything in order. So, hope you guys enjoyed that. We will certainly be looking forward to having him on more and more in the future. A lot more X's and O's to talk about right now. We're still getting to know him. We're still getting to know our new head coach, and so hopefully you know a little bit more about him as he joined us for the first time. We'll get into more of the X's and O's and the team that he has and the coaches that he has when we talk some spring football down the road. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, we keep this in its normal time slot. We do it at 5:15 every day. We will cruise the region. We'll be right back. This is The Drive on ESPN Radio 93.9, The Team.